Okay, you've got some images. Perhaps it's something you sketched on your tablet with Procreate or created in Photoshop, or a photo that you took and you want to add it to your Illustrator file. The best way to do this is to select Place under the File menu. When you get into Place, you actually have a couple of options here. So I'm going to click on this one. And you'll notice that there's a little checkbox that says Link. So if Link is checked, then the file is not actually put into the Illustrator file. It's actually just simply linked. So the precaution you have to take if you do that is keep the Illustrator file in the same folder as the picture so that Illustrator can always find that file. If you uncheck Link, then the file is called embedded, and it actually becomes part of the Illustrator file. So I'm just going to hit Place here, and you'll notice that I've got an insertion point here, so that's where the file is going to go. And if the file is really huge, like this one is, you might need to reduce it. Probably the easiest way to do that is to go under the View menu and go on Zoom Out. The key shortcut for that is Command minus, which is a good one to know. You'll be using that a lot. It's exactly the same as in Photoshop and in InDesign. And once you've zoomed out, I could put my finger on the Shift key, put my cursor on the lower right-hand corner here, and just reduce that so that it fits on my page. And then I'm going to go under the View menu again and go Fit Artboard in Window. This is also the same as the key shortcut in Photoshop and InDesign, and basically just makes the artboard or page, whatever it is, the right size to fit into your whatever available space you have. Now, to check your links, if you go under the Window menu, there is a panel called Links. And you can see from this little icon here that this is actually embedded. You can change it to a link if you want. This one is actually embedded file. If there's nothing here, then it means it's linked. If you click on the little down pointing arrow here, it gives you some information about that link. Okay, so basically it becomes just another object then, although it is a raster file. If I go to the Layers panel, you can see that there's my image here. It's sitting on layer 1. And the Layers menu, it's an image. So if I just wanted to place this in here and then make it part of composition, I can do that. If I wanted to use it as an object and say a guideline for tracing, then I can do another thing here which is handy, and that is double click on this layer, which brings up this layer options panel, and I can turn this into a template. So when I turn it into a template for drawing tracing over, and I click OK, you can see the layer is now locked. You can see the layer is now grayed out because that makes it easier quite often to trace. And if you roll my cursor over here, you can see that it turns into a pencil with a little sign beside it that means that you can't draw on that layer. So I'll have to go back to my Layers panel, click on the Create New Layer icon at the bottom, and then this becomes my drawing layer. And once I've done that, I can grab my pen tool or whatever tool I choose to use and just click over it here. Oh, and you can see I have a white fill here, which is kind of annoying. I can go back to my stroke and fill menu at the bottom here. And I'm going to bring the stroke to the foreground. Click on the little bent arrow here, switches the stroke and fill colors. And I'm going to change my stroke to black just so that it makes it a little bit more visible. And then I can continue doing whatever I want to do here. And I'm just tracing. So you could use this if you have composition in mind. You could draw rectangles or text frames or whatever. In this case, it's just a simple drawing here. I could go back to my layers panel, and you can see that I now have an object on layer 1. If I turn the visibility off for the background, you can see my tracing here. And at this point, I could add text or whatever. I continue on adding elements to my composition here. So basically, you can place, either link or embed. Now, if you have a lot of things to put in there, I recommend that you do not embed them because it can make the file size really big. The other advantage of simply linking rather than embedding is that if they're linked, you can update them. Say you decide you want to change something about the image in Photoshop. If it's embedded, you have to delete it and place it again. If it's linked, you can just simply update it. I'm going to place a file as a linked file just to show you the advantage. So I'm going to go File, Place. And I'm going to select this one called Brick Wall and place it. It's not quite as huge. I'll just make it a little smaller here. Again, make sure you hold down the Shift key when you scale it so you don't distort it. So and if you look at this, you will notice that in the links menu, there's no symbol here, which means that this is linked, not embedded. Now, the advantage of doing this is, let's say I've decided I really wanted this to be a grayscale image. So I'm going to go back to Photoshop and open the file. I'm going to go under the adjustment menus and just click on the black and white adjustment. I'm going to go File, Save to make sure I've saved the changes. And when I close this, I don't actually need to close it. When I go back to Illustrator, I immediately get this message that says, this file has been modified. Do you want to update it? And of course, I'll say yes. So if I had embedded it, I would have had to delete that, place it again, rescale it. Whereas if it's linked, if I make any changes to the link, I can automatically update it.